advise you to please listen very carefully to the conversation that we'll be having today, because this chance, again, you might not get again. And a big kudos to the ACM team for that. Okay. And another sign that they all are good dignitaries is that they could take a Saturday off. It's not working for them, so they're all of like good company, so you can trust their words. So I think we could start the discussion on a theme. The most of the students that are sitting here might, like 80% would actually like to pursue a job after this, and many would also like to go for masters. But so they'd be even after masters they'd be considered as freshers in the industry. So this question, I think I would keep it like for everybody. Like, so when you interview or evaluate like early career candidates, so what skills do actually stand out, and what makes a strong impression at first? So I think we could start with Dr. Sachin Gupta. Like at your end, how would you like to like impart knowledge to students to make them career ready at the early stages?
Okay, it's a very hard question today. I mean, 2 years down the line it was the easy question. 5 years down the line it was even easier. When you ask it today that what would make somebody stand out in an interview, it is mostly flexibility, how flexible you are, how adaptable you are to how fast the technology is shifting, how capable are you to go back to your core, learn, unlearn and relearn, and kind of that how far would you be able to apply that problem solving skills on what is the other person throwing at you. So to me, that becomes a very easy benchmark for judging somebody.
Ms. Renuka, if you would like to also.
Yeah, I'll talk about it from the IBM research perspective. It's a small group, but we will get an understanding of how research teams hire. So there are two ways we look at, right? Interns and people who finish their studies, early career. Interns, this is what, we go for bachelors. And interns is the only time we go for bachelors. Now here is the part that most bachelor students are doing their assignments and they would have written their projects, whatever they have done. And most of the times we are looking at people who would have done something extra. Not because otherwise the skills are the same, you would have similar GPAs. How would we know what is that extra that you've done, which would probably match? That shows that you are looking at exploring new things. So that's one part. And that's the basic criteria. After that, of course, you are expected to have strong hold of your fundamentals and so on. The second is during master's or PhD. And in both these cases, we look at people who are, there it's a lot more easier. We look at people who have contributed something significant, body of knowledge. That is standard masters. If you have done your research, you should have written at least one publication which is submitted or accepted, all those things. PhDs, again, it is just a larger body of knowledge in better conferences. So that becomes a starting criteria to get selected, and then you go through various other rounds. I mean, that's probably what I want to say is what differentiates you from others. That's what we look.
Yeah, so for bachelor's level, if we see like a publication could help, right? Okay, so.
Even if not a publication, maybe. Have you done some new project?
Right.
Do you have a big triple when you've done something new?
Right.
Which is not your standard assignments.
Got it. So I think that is something that you all can take a note of. And the same question I think I would also like to ask Mr. Divyanshu Tyagi. So like considering the culture at Microsoft, how do you feel about like the skills that should stand out in the first impression when you take on a new candidate?
Being on the recruiting side, I haven't interviewed much. Taken an interview, I've taken I guess 3 or 4 interviews for the interns and some initial level developers. For Microsoft, I agree. Be it Microsoft, be it Amazon, be it Google, I agree with this language thing should be there. Like you should not focus on a single language. You should focus on solving a problem.
Okay.
That's the major thing I should do. In throughout the interviews, you'll see that the interviewer is more interested towards knowing how you are solving the problem, how you are approaching it. whether you are reaching towards the solution correctly or are you deviating in some manner. So that thing you should be clear about, and for that you should have your basics strong. You should have your problem solving skills strong. Initial days, I also remember when I was in the college, I used to focus on single language. Let's say I was during my BSc time in DDUC only. I used to love JavaScript a lot. I used to do like I won't be doing Python. I don't like Python, but growing throughout my career, I got to know that focusing on single language is not good. You should focus on problem solving, and that will be the key of you clearing out the interviews and going for big companies.
Okay. And I think when we like comparatively at a smaller setup, I think Mr. Shubham can take this question better. When we talk about a comparatively smaller setup, we really need to make sure that everybody is working at their 100% because anything could come up at any point. We do not have that much of distributed teams for everything. So, what kind of culture do we follow there?
Firstly, thank you everyone for having me. So, one question I would like to ask everyone standing here, because we were talking about publications, like ma'am told me. So, because we have so many great professors here, has anyone asked their professor and asked them that, okay, I want to write a paper with you? Has anyone has done this? This is the niche. Basically, you don't know the gold mine that you have, right? Because I was in JNU, everyone used to push us that okay, you should do some research, you should do some PhD. So one day I realized that because one of my friend is in one of the tier 1 colleges, so I used to realize that what is the difference between tier 3 and tier 1, right? Here everyone is supposed to write a paper, and I used to think that I never thought about this when I was in my bachelor's, right? And it's so easy. You have your mentors right in front of you, you go every day to college, and you see them in front of you, right? And I don't think that anyone will deny. At the most, they will just guide you, right? And you don't know how shiny that particular piece of paper would look in your resume. That was the first thing I was going, right? Now, with the coming of AI, the recruitment process is going to change, and I think everyone will agree to this. Somehow the onus of proving what an individual can do is on the candidate now. They will have to show that okay, this is the problem I can solve for you, right? Till now what happens is that we have big companies, they have some specifications and requirements, and they need software engineers, right? Now with coming of AI, they have this question in mind that okay, currently AI is not that capable that it can 100% replace everyone. But you should also understand that we have a significant amount of supply that is going on in these companies, right? So the onus is on you that somehow again there's this one small difference I also see, that how the recruitment is different in West as compared to in India, right? So West somehow focuses on networking. The onus is on the software engineers. They come up with a big message, a mail, or somehow in a conference they are coming up to the founders and recruiters, and they're telling me that okay, you have this problem, I like your product, you have this problem, and this is how you can solve it. They start interacting, they start networking, and they finally tell that okay, I have these sets. Now I'm not focusing on the granular level that okay, you should learn this language. You have to do it. Everyone have to do it, right? But you have to change the approach in the top-down manner. Firstly, you will say that okay, I want to. This is the problem that each and every company is facing. I can solve this problem for them. A simple thing can be like AI agents is becoming a niche, right? So you can go to anyone because in AI, the VCs are throwing a lot of money. You should be knowing that, right? And everything is selling with AI fan, AI refrigerator, and whatnot, right? So onus is on you that okay, this is the skill set that I have. You have this problem, and I can solve this in this way. So one of the major point that I would say is that start networking as early as possible. Yeah.
So I think we have good takeaways from here, starting with get your basics clear, don't be too specific with your skill set, in like utilize your resources to the best, right? And of course, networking like we are doing today. So shifting the theme a bit, I want to like have an honest take from everybody on the very in trend of vibe coding, how we are becoming so dependent or dependent on LLM assistants for coding, be it GitHub Copilot, Cloud Code, etc. So the bottom question becomes that LLM assistants, do they help or hurt? So it becomes pretty clear that you're not blindly supposed to like follow your assistants because they are your assistants at the end of the day. LLMs are there to assist you. They are not here yet to completely take over or do your work. So coming to like Dr. Renuka, like so you lead teams using LLMs in real workflows nowadays. So where do you see freshers or even experienced candidates misinterpreting like what AI can do and what it cannot?
That's a very interesting question, and I must say it's not only freshers misinterpreting, even the people who want to use the product are misinterpreting. Okay, so most of our customers know that Gen AI, LLMs are good at something, they want to introduce it everywhere in their workflows. So one of the biggest challenges is I'm looking at the real business process workflows, right? Like for example, in HR, there will be a process to promote an employee, or there will be a process to change the salary of the employee. These are all business workflows, okay? And they are supposed to be a bit more deterministic because you can't make a mistake in increasing the salary of your reportee. And these are the workflows which customers want to use LLMs. LLMs inherently are probabilistic. These are deterministic workflows. But like I said, this is where the misinterpretation. It's good at certain things. It's good in understanding user utterances. But people want it to do reasoning a lot more in a deterministic fashion when it is not required. So this is where I think there's a lot of things to go. But to be honest, in the real workflows, it is still a prototype level. It has not gone to an extent where we could say that these are going to be used in production level at large scale. It has not gone there yet. People want it to be there, but it has not gone there.
But people want it to be there. So coming to Mr. Divyanshu, like what has been Microsoft's culture on having people take on vibe coding and being dependent on co-pilots?
Okay. Microsoft is like same like Amazon only. I can say from the developer perspective.
Okay.
I've seen this trend for past like a month or two. Managers are more checking up on the developers, like whether how much AI are you using, how much vibe coding are you doing. Since like, but that we should be mindful, as Amit already told, we should not totally depend on that. I'll give you an example. There was a feature that I am being working on. Still, I am working on that feature. But it was a major feature and it has an impact till such a level. So that impactful feature was working and I started working it on around June.
Okay.
So I spent like good amount of time, like 2-3 months, doing a proper proof of concept, laying down all the architecture, dev design, prove that this feature can execute and this should execute perfectly. That's all my effort. I didn't took much help of the AI, all the research and everything I did. But now coming up to the coding part, now my managers expect that this thing should be coded within a month or less than a month. So that where the AI helped me.
Okay.
Now I can take the example of my previously coded examples, ask him to like restructure it for me, tell me the good places, so that I don't spend my time looking for the things that are repetitive things. That's how it's helping the AI. Now in Microsoft also, I've seen this trend a lot. In there, we recently had a hackathon, which is the world's biggest industry level hackathon that happens.
Okay.
So in there also the theme was AI.
Okay.
And I've seen this trend, people are more supporting towards using the AI, and also it is kind of becoming mandatory.
Okay.
Just like in initial days, you remember, I guess 5 to 10 years back, we used to have single niche developer, like front-end developer, back-end developer. Then we came into the picture like it's normal, like you should have a full stack knowledge. That's the minimum, bare minimum. Now the bare minimum next is like if you have a full stack, that's okay. We don't care. You should have full stack plus some AI knowledge. Whether it is using Gen AI product, you should have some Gen AI knowledge, or you should have some little bit touch with using the AI tools and all. So that's the general trend I've seen in the Microsoft.
So it is pretty being like acceptable till a certain level is a key takeaway from this. And also coming to the same question to Mr. Shubham, like at Sienna, what has been everyone's response on this?
So, firstly, I would mention that don't ship a code that you don't understand. It's very simple, right? Because if you, so I'll take example of one of the colleagues in Sienna. So he pushed a code into a MR and he didn't understand. It was looking good and it was working. So we have some senior software engineers there who are reviewing. And one of the great senior is that he always asks, why did you do it? Okay. So why did you do it? And he had no answer. He was just saying that it's working. What's the problem, right? And that's the biggest problem. The moment it goes to production and you don't understand it, two things happen. There is a good possibility that it will break. Secondly, when the new engineer will come and see your code, he would be if he knows what's going on, either he would be cursing that how difficult he has written it. There's a possibility that a feature required 100 lines of code and the AI gave you 1000 lines of code. It's still working, right? But is it optimal? No, it is not, right? It's not even understandable because in my team as well, the feature that we are building, there as well, we curse 2 to 3 engineers out there who have written like extra code where there was requirement of one for loop, they have used nested loops. It's still working, that's okay. But when the build up happens, right, when you have a large scale product going on, and when you say that, oh, it's not scaling, we have to use many servers now, we have to increase the time of getting the service, then it becomes a big problem. Now, coming back to the core question that whether we should write code or not, you should understand this that AI has given this power to everyone that everyone can be a founder. Everyone can have his own application, right? Everyone can create his own portfolio website. Now, I'll ask you how many of you guys have their own portfolio websites? It's a matter of half an hour where you can build a shiny portfolio website. And if you will go to applying to jobs, there would be an optional portal where you would be asked to put up your website, right? So don't you want that particular website? It is required there, right? And if you have tool in hand like vibe coding, now you don't need to understand nitty-gritties of your particular website, right? You don't want to spend your time writing the whole big text. You want AI to do it. So you should understand what AI can do, how it is beneficial to you, and if you have an idea, you can ship it into a big product in no time. You should understand this. After that, making changes to it, if maybe someday it works, right? So you have to understand pros and cons, but as a developer, you should understand what AI is writing. And initially at student age, I won't recommend using cursor and things like that.
Okay. And also taking a bit of academic perspective into it. So, like Dr. Sachin, how do you see evaluating students on the basis of code being written through AI or not? And like, what if a student comes up to you and says, "Okay, in future I could have ChatGPT do this." So, how can you like motivate them? First of all, evaluate them on the basis of the code and motivate them to actually take up the coding the like old school way.
Okay, so I'll first give you a perspective that you might actually take me as a coder also. Secondly, DDU was the place where I started my first programming language, and it was COBOL.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you have even heard of it today, but that we are that ancient. So, I was there when the dot-com bubble happened. That means year 2000 was a disaster for techies. This year is 50% of that disaster. Next year is going to be 70% of the disaster again. If you look at the placement stats, of what engineering colleges are having versus this year versus what we put next year, don't be very optimistic. And please don't mind what I am trying to tell you, because you would have to up your game by a several level of notches. It's not going to work the way we are comfortable today. So when we say vibe coding per se, I differentiate. I mean, I have worked with Replit, I have worked with Bolt, Kiro, Google Copilot, GitHub Copilot. I have worked with every tool that comes into the vibe coding space. But I learned one thing, that what vibe coding we define as vibe is basically meant for those people who have never had a touch of technology to their work. For them, the term vibe coding is correct. I don't mind doing that. But when it comes to somebody who is a developer, like the panel here, they would be more like developers who already have a technical understanding of what is to be done, and they are using AI for the AI assisted coding, which is different than vibe. That's not vibe coding. If they are doing it, if you are doing it because you are a commerce student, you do not know any nitty-gritties of how to create a website, but you can still create a website, you are a vibe coder. Okay? So for if you are into tech domain, you can think about AI assisted coding, perfectly fine. At the same time, when somebody says that this is going to impact you very much or this is not going to impact you at all, both extremes don't work. So I tell my students when they talk about evaluation, 2 years back, I started giving my students such option of that you are going to submit any assignment that you are going to do with AI. You can use any tool, any LLM available. But at the same time, I need to understand what prompts did you use, where did you make mistakes, what did you change eventually before submission. That should be part of your submission. It started well. Then I had to teach a course on programming Python. And programming Python was like, you give a prompt, you get the code. How hard can it be? Right? Python is the most easy language to work with when you are talking about LLM, because the code is so available, the code is so easy to work with, it becomes easy for it. So I made it the same rule, use any LLM, use any coding assistant, but your code should have maximum test coverage. Cover every edge case that you are possibly having. So we started out with the program on write the factorial of a number. How many edge cases can you think of? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Not more than 10 edge cases. In the class, when we brainstormed, we came up with 35 edge cases on the simple factorial program alone. This also might go wrong, that also might go wrong. Your choice of OS, your choice of hardware, which platform are you going to run it on, what is the length of the program output which Python is going to come out with, is your screen size compatible with that. There were so many factors that we spoke about in just the factorial program, and that is how you should actually write code. So if you think about AI assisted coding, you would have to go from the basic product requirement documentation to spec driven. Spec driven is, I mean, you can search it on GitHub, you'll find it spec driven development or Kiro in the process. First use that, it's a ready-made tool, but then go on to spec driven documentation. And that should give you an idea that how do we add specifications to what we are developing. But everyone should have that knowledge, because that gives you an edge over others who have not done it. So that is going to always remain. So please be alert, this is going to be a very hard time ahead. The year 2000 was one example only. This time it might be even. So the October alone we saw 150,000 jobs gone in the US market. Just the October alone. Largest cut in the last 20 years, for that matter. It's not that AI is not creating jobs. There are jobs being created, but you'd have to be ready for them. That you would have to differentiate yourself by a wide margin, given the size of the number of people who are coming in the Indian market every year.
Okay. So like a key takeaway could be here that if you are on this side of the thing, being students of computer science or who have taken computer science at some point, you cannot be just blindly dependent on LLMs because you might know or can know how to get the best out of it, and that is completely not being blindly trusting it. So I think another question that something that students do not get exposure to at all being students is what is like a project's life cycle at different kind of corporations? And Dr. Renuka, if you could throw some light on what is a project's life cycle at IBM Research?
Yeah, in fact, I think as we come before with whatever you were saying, on the viability. So if if you want to start using LLMs for a particular use case, the first thing we start looking at is evaluating. A lot of evaluations is what we are largely looking at. Building data sets, in most cases you might not get real data sets. Then you start building synthetic data sets. Then you start evaluating various models. You evaluate latency, cost, all these kinds of evaluation we start looking at. And I'm just talking about one project. So we are looking at whether an idea is feasible, how feasible it is, and then the scaling part goes to the actual development teams and so on. Once they pick it up and they see this is indeed a value to them, there is business value, then they pick it up. So for us, a lot of our projects actually fail midway. So we get this, maybe we are told by 6 months you figure out whether this is whether we should go forward or we should just leave it.
Okay.
So that's how we start, much before in the exploration life cycles and so on.
Okay. Now coming to Divyanshu.
Now I can share my views.
Yeah.
Now you know the more broader form way. Amit has already told like what happens from start to finish. So covering off in his question, I just wanted to share. He shared like few people were asking like whether software engineers will be replaced or not. So one case that came into my mind and observation that I did, software engineers won't be replaced, but they will be required in less amount, I would say.
Okay.
Let's say, I'll give you an example. The Microsoft is already working on a product and they have already released one which is kind of replacing the SREs. So automation SREs. So that doesn't mean that we won't be needing any SREs more. We will be needing more SREs, but in less amount. Similarly, I'll tell you, there are some CIFS test cases, this is customer integration test cases that we used to write. So now those test cases, backlog has been increased a lot, and I'm talking about an actual edge case, real world case that's happening. So in our team, I work for Microsoft Teams basically. So in Teams, those test cases backlog has been increased a lot.
Okay.
So what happened? Our leadership came into a problem statement that we need to reduce these, and we appoint some external agencies, service-based agencies, and we assign them the task that we have to create this test cases and validate it for a product. So for that, it's been happening for a long time. Now, leadership had decided like whether we should be relying on those external agencies or not, and we should reduce them. So internally, I don't know if I should talk about it or not. We are developing a product which is reducing the effort of writing CIFS test cases.
Okay.
So this will cut down many vendors. Let's say we have 12 vendors, so it will be cut down to 1 or 2 only. We will be needing, but in a very less amount.
Okay.
So, like from outcome from this, I would say, if you see a change in the trend in the agency, let's say you are part of QA, and you see QA contribution to product is getting less, so you should start upgrading your skills, start learning more, so that you will be adjusted more towards the new industry. Now, answering your question again, Amit has already answered like what happens from start to finish for the product. As from the developer perspective, I would say you majorly get a feature or two to work on a product. When you get a feature, you have to own it from start to finish. That's what I've learned while working in Microsoft. And ownership part, you should properly own it. If it related to bug, if it related to testing, end to end, you should own it and deliver it properly to the client. Yeah.
Okay, so I think all these things really help us to get an insight of what's happening in these organizations, because again, in our curriculum or anywhere, we do not actually understand what happens when a new task is given to a team or a project at organizations. So, like taking some more insight into it, if Shubham sir would like to help us understand how the product
Life
life cycle
cycle.
works there. Yeah.
Okay, so basically talking about my team, so CNI basically majorly deals with B2B products. So my team creates a product called resource adapters, which actually, so basically we are orchestrating the OSS suite for various networking firms, including Samsung, Airtel, and all of them. So basically, they have a huge, humongous amount of different devices like modems, routers, and a lot of things. So basically, we have a resource adapter which helps it to translate it into a Sienna template, which actually helps it to orchestrate it. So basically, our whole system is in microservices. So we have different services which have different teams. So talking about the life cycle again, so we have this one subject. We had this one subject called software engineering. If you have, right? So there you learn about a lot of different life cycles. So it's particularly very similar to that. We majorly focus on the requirement because it's critical, because if we have taken the wrong requirement, then customer can say that okay, you have wasted our time, we said something else. It needs to be in a well documented written format. Then the manager and the developer work together to decide a timeline, and after that they assign the resources, number of resources and the number of days. And after building the resource adapter, then thorough testing happens. So it's critical to have a good amount of coverage, as sir was saying that, with unit tests and integration testing. And after delivering, we get to their servers and it goes to pre-production. And we continuously maintain it. We create Jiras for any issues and things like that.
Okay, and I think like the same question I could take to Dr. Renuka, like how do you manage like new engineers to balance speed and correctness, anything? And if there is anything that is like replicated, could be replicated in a student manner, anything that they could take up now, which could help them at that stage.
Yeah, I think in research it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Most of the times what we have is we have a very open-ended problem that we want to go after, and there can be various approaches to it. So usually we are, and it's not that we are the only people who are solving the problem, right? The whole scenario is such that many other research organizations also will be having similar problems that they are going after. So one of the things that I've seen which helps is people who do a thorough literature survey, which you would ideally do in your PhD, but here you do very quick. Like what probably in your PhD or master's by research you take 6 months to do, here you would have to probably do it in 4 weeks and come and say, okay, this is the landscape, this is what people are doing, maybe we should go in one path or the other. I think that urge to not just say, okay, I will take the most intuitive way that I think, we do a very quick and dirty approach of looking at the landscape is high, but it doesn't get you so far, because very soon you will come to know other labs are doing similar thing. Why are you doing? You'll get asked a ton of questions and you'll have to stop doing it. So I think that you need to be a little more rigorous and do it quickly.
Okay. And like on similar lines, coming to Divyanshu sir, so like at Microsoft, again working at a pretty large scale, how does it influence the way you think about quality and testing while building your products? And if within your team, how do you manage to think about quality and testing at the later stages as well?
When you're working for a big product, let's say I'm working for the teams, which has daily active users more than million. So you have to think for the edge cases very rigorously.
Okay.
Like you cannot keep a small loophole in your edge cases, so that it will be a very big impact thing. Now in Microsoft, I guess in every other firm we call it different levels, but whenever you are delivering a product, it doesn't directly goes to the client.
Mhm.
We have several ring concept in Microsoft. We go through ring 0 till ring 4.
Okay.
And in between these rings, there are several point rings also, 3.9, 2.5 also ring. So whenever product goes through these rings, it goes through several round of testing.
Okay.
And from different part of different variety of tenants. Let's say tenants, I'm talking about firms, people.
Yeah.
So we go through these round of testing so that the product that is being delivered is delivered without any errors. But still, no product is good. So at every stage we find some errors, we roll the version back, we fix those errors, or we incrementally approach this problem. So when you are developing a application, let's say you are developing as whenever everyone is joining as a junior developer only, so they'll have to think of their features. When you're developing a feature, you should discuss with your mentors and seniors. Like, I am thinking about developing this feature in this way. Are there any other business problems or any other business logic am I missing?
Mhm.
So don't just assume things. Try to clear it out with your managers and seniors so that you don't miss out and you don't get any red flag on your career.
Okay.
So that's my advice.
Yeah, and I think to help us better, like Dr. Sachin, like from hearing their conversations on the life cycles and how things are done at quality and testing, is there anything specific that could be done on the curriculum side or at this academic level that could, somewhat help students to get an idea of, to think in a manner of solving these problems efficiently?
I'm trying to put an answer in my head to the question that you are trying to ask. But for the students out there, 5 years back, when we were in COVID, there was a lot of demand coming for software engineers. There was an easy way to get placed. Mug up data structures and algorithms. Any company which is going to come, they are going to ask you DSA. Lead code was your savior. Period. Everything done. So if you could solve a problem using DSA and lead code, that was your complete requirement. Now the thing is, suddenly we find ourselves in situation today. There are layoffs being held here, there, everywhere. Like, how do you make yourself up that quality ladder, which is asking? Is that, are you developing something currently as a product? Are you a part of any open source, something as a contributor? Find yourself some project which you can contribute to as an open source developer, because that would give you a very good idea into how people approach problems when they are working with a team.
Right.
Now, how do you find that? How are issues represented? Which kind of issues can be represented? It can be as small as single line missing in documentation. Even that is taken very kindly by the developers of the open source software. Up to that there is a missing comma, there is a missing semicolon, even to that extent people are checking. So when I'm asking the students to work on project, in fact, today I came in from one of the projects that we are working on. We are working on a humanoid in a small room in Connaught Place. I picked up a team of 5 students from my college. One is good with RL, one is good with VLMs, one is good with basic robotics. None of them had any idea about a unitary G1 before we brought it in. But where I come into the picture is the fundamentals. Why are we hitting this bottleneck? Why are we not capable of running this algorithm? Because are we constrained by the RAM? Are we constrained by the CPU, GPU? What do we need? So please go back to the complete basics that you have. Stop worrying about only data structures and algorithms. Go back to your programming languages. Go back to your software engineering. Work on networking also. Work on operating system also, because you can't understand cloud without understanding networking and operating system. You have to work on cyber security. You would have to work on networking and operating system both. Anytime such scenario happens, The people who survive are the ones who have the most core fundamental knowledge, because from those first principles you can come out of any situation that comes up. So build upon that.
Yeah, I think that is very important, and I don't think most of the students even know like about this, how they could contribute to open source projects. So I think that is something to actually look forward to. So again, just like going through the panel, if you had to, considering today's demand of jobs and everything that is out there, the skill set, if you had to name one skill that predicts long-term success in like tech, what would it be and why? I think we could start with so.
I think I already told that, and I was also talking to Sanjeev sir about it. So I think what I have looked forward is skills and coding skills are required, right? Everyone knows this. But today, not everyone is networking enough. If let's say you are in a company A, you get laid off because of, see, one thing again you need to understand it. If someone get laid off, right, it's not 100% sure that it's his fault. There is a good possibility that it's the company's fault. That not the fault, but maybe it's the situation they are dissolving. There is reorg happening, right? There could be XYZ reasons. So there is this one guy who gets laid off, but his networking is so strong, connections are so strong. The other day he starts getting 4 to 5 interviews, right? So even if you are having above average skills, but you are having great networking skills, you have marketed yourself in such a way that people look up to you as a problem solver. Because today it's not a time where you are solving problem in silos. You have to have some level of visibility. You should start posting in Twitter, you should start posting in LinkedIn. And because I am myself in the field, okay, I'm early in my career, and this is something which I think that had I know about this in my college, I could have started very early, right? So that is why I think visibility is very important, networking is very important. There is somewhere out there who's looking for an engineer and you are the perfect match. But that gap in networking is not letting him reach up to you. So that is one big problem. So I think, so for me, this is.
Networking is the one. Okay. Divyanshu sir.
Yeah, definitely networking is the major thing that I also feel. Which I also feel like we lacked a lot in our bachelor's time. I learned a lot while after clearing bachelor's I joined NIT, and I from there I also got to know that in networking your seniors, your professors, these are the only people that can help you. So reach out to them and get to know about networking, and stay in touch with the people who are currently in the industry, so that you will get a better chance and better up ahead, go ahead with other than other people. Other than that, I feel like you should not be very rigorous on what language basically you are coding.
Okay.
Try to be linguistic and focus on the industry trend. Let's say, as I already told you, I gave you example of QA.
Yeah.
Yeah, QA are currently being obsolete, and we are trying to reduce those workforces and dependency on them. So if you know that the current market is going towards where they need some using AI tool is not a skill, to be honest. That's prompt engineering. Although that roles are also coming, to be honest. These things are also happening in the market. I got to know that they're looking for prompt engineers. But if you see, the market is in current scene, like the basic requirement is the full stack developer. That's basic. Other than that, what you have to offer? There are millions of people who are doing software engineering, and you need to, if you are aiming for something big, something high, then you have to stand out. Now you have to think for that standing out factor in yourself. So that standout factor could be that you know some extra technology,
Right.
or you have contributed to, let's say, as Sachin sir was saying, similarly open source you have to contribute.
Right.
That really outshines your resume and will really help you. And I've seen, I'm not just blabbing about it, I've seen with an example, people who contribute to open source and have some industry level experience, basically that itself is industry level experience, outperforms others, and they are more highlighted and selected easily. So I would highly recommend that, and don't make yourself absolute about new technology. Try to learn about them, get to know, so that even let's say in interview you have something to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Renuka, like one skill that in today's world.
Sure, and I'll talk about something, okay, assuming you've joined an organization, more or less people around you will be similar to you, right? That's why you got in there. So one thing I think Amit also alluded to it, is being proactive, okay, and being a good team player. Proactive is like where you're not just doing what you were supposed to do, but you also go one step beyond, and if you're given a deadline, you show up early and then you say, okay, I want to evaluate something else also, I want to do something plus. That stands apart. The other thing is being a team player, and this is something I've seen, I'm telling out of my one of the experiences. We had a person who was a Stanford PhD, so technical capabilities, no questions, but was never a team player. Nobody could work with that person, or whoever worked with that person felt like they were always walking on eggshells. Okay, so then it becomes really hard. No matter how technically good you are, if people can't work with you, it won't work out in the long run.
Yeah. Dr. Sachin.
Okay, so for me, because I'm looking at the change, we never saw technology changing in the last 20 years as much as it changed in the last two. And if you are into the technical line, there is too much technical debt happening because of artificial intelligence. People are creating a lot of code that's going into a lot of wrong code also. There are people required to correct that code. And I started out with ChatGPT when the first version came out. It was barely able to make a coherent sentence back then. There had a 1024 token window, I believe, that when it started out. And then they moved on to 2048. Then we have vector databases. We could put in an entire book to study from, and the tokenization happened. So the gist of the matter is that for the last 2 years, I have not been able to stop myself from thinking that what I'll be learning tomorrow, what is happening in this space. Would voice be more important in the next coming few months or year? Or would physical AI be more important? Or would it be a combination of both? Or how do I keep myself relevant is some question that I'm asking myself every day as a teacher also, not as from the perspective of a student only, as the perspective of teacher also, because I need to understand that how do I guide the people who are dependent on me for guidance. Not dependent is the wrong word. Don't cancel me out for that. I mean, those who are looking up to your teacher that this is something that we want to do. Please shape our careers. So we have to keep ourselves relevant by reinventing ourselves every day. Keep an eye out on the future. What is happening in the technical scenario? What is changing? What is going to change very fast? But always be ready to adapt to that change. That yes, I can relearn. It's not a question for me that if this technology becomes obsolete, what would I do? That should be your basic work as a techie.
Right, some really good advice. Any questions from the audience? Anyone who wants to? Yeah. Okay,
So my question is for Dr. Renuka and Dr. Sachin. So being someone who's interested in research and with quantum computing being on the rise, where do you see quantum computing right now and how do you see it in the future?
I can just say that I'm not a person who knows much about quantum computing other than the fact that there is a research group in IBM, IBM Bangalore, which is looking into quantum computing. So, but I must say that in India, yeah, we are not doing the core quantum development. We're doing a lot of computing. So there's scope in India on that area. That's probably the most I can talk about.
I'll talk on her behalf actually, IBM Research Lab. We see the maximum work happening in quantum technology in IIT Kanpur as a hub. And Hyderabad has some companies which are incubated at IIT Kanpur again. And IBM is the research partner they are working with. It is a space to move in with a small bet on yourself. I mean, if you are technically very sound with the concepts that come in, you can't say that I'm a computer science student, so I'll be able to create an algorithm in quantum domain as I would do with this also. So the 2 or 3 of our students who are working with quantum, they have a completely different bent of mind because they are more into physical sciences than into computer science. Adding computer science on the top of it certainly helps, but your foundation should be physical sciences. So that having said, if you are currently in the second year, apply to IIT Kanpur, any professor that we want to pursue an internship under you. They take you for a 3 months or a 6 month internship. They don't give you accommodation normally, but there you'd be able to learn what is happening and how to shift from that place to some lab in Hyderabad which is actually building in this domain. It's a good work, not certainly in India for very long, but if you are worth your salt, you would be landing outside in no time because the labs outside are waiting. The Indian quantum mission, my student is handling as a nodal coordinator. She said that we wanted to hire people as project coordinators. We approached so many people who are doing PhD in this domain in India, but most of the work is theoretical. So they couldn't find in good enough people to hire, despite having a very good amount of budget allocated to it. The government of India has allocated some 6,000 crores for it, and still no takers.
Any more questions?
Last question, related to the from him, like if there is a student from BCom and they want to go in a job like IT sector like data analysis or anything, so I've usually heard that there are constraints majorly from BCom that why you are taken from like why do you want to go to IT sector and BCom and they will want a degree from computer science and all. So, does the skills they will consider, like the certifications or skills or projects, will they consider over the degree?
I'll give you an example. I'll start with an example. I'll answer your question. Recently, there was my friend who he's doing a startup. He just educate people regarding the placement and all. So he got a student who was from creative background. She used to do designing and all, art and all. She used to do freelancing. So I went there as a guest and I was doing a resume review. I noticed something and I asked her like why I see like your experience doesn't include any tech experience or anything else. So he told me I am also transitioning to the industry. So that was very fascinating to me. So I asked her like you belong to completely different background. Why you are even thinking about? So that was her answer. Like she's like this thing did fascinate me later in the stage. I was not able to recognize that these are my talents and I can I like doing coding and developing products and all. So regarding the degree fact, now answering your question, there are many people like from BCom and other backgrounds who are trying to pursue into this technical coding and development. So degree should not stop you, I would say. Rather than thinking about degree, I'll definitely give you a little bit reality check. Like it will be hard compared to the person who is doing a degree in computer science. Since the first layer of recruitment are the HRs. They look at your degree, they look at your experience, but don't be uh, conservative and be restricted about this. There are several other companies who only look for your experience. There are plenty amount of open source things that you can do. There are plenty amount of resources that you can learn from. If you can do a certification also. You can do masters also, whatever your suits you.
If you are a BCom, then people would try to pick up a BTech, a BSc Computer Science honor student rather a BCom because they know you haven't studied for that. But with a good skill set, you might actually be able to overcome that also.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. We have a lot of questions coming in, and I think we can take them in the slightly later. And on this note, I think we can end. It was like a very fruitful discussion, and I hope the students could take good, like many advices from it. And I think over to Priyanka now for further.
I have to add one thing that we are on LinkedIn and please find, connect, redirect your queries, whatever query that come to your mind, and we try to answer as many of them as possible. But don't say that please refer us to a job in your company, because it doesn't work that way. It has to come with a CV, it has to come with a skill set, it has to match the job description. So once that happens, you can actually approach senior. But again, they say networking is important, so please start networking even with the alumni, the seniors who see in these events, and try to build upon that. That you said something, this is something that appealed to me. I am working in this domain. This is what I have completed. What should I do next? That kind of keep the momentum going and helps you keep connected.
One thing I would like to say, closing this, I would like to thank all the ACM members for arranging such a great event. I remember being on a management side also. I remember managing with Sanjeev sir, Rajni ma'am, these events, and it is really hard and really challenging to arrange such good panelists and get some audience and arrange this whole event and all. So great kudos to all, and I would like to appreciate all of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all the esteemed panel members for such an engaging and insightful discussion. Your experience and perspectives gave us a deeper understanding of evolving tech landscape and skills needed to thrive in it. We truly appreciate your time and effort to share your knowledge with us today. Thank you for being here with us.